Hello and welcome to the GodIsAGeek.com podcast, episode 533. My name's Adam Cook, and I am joined this week by Lyle Carr. Hello, Lyle.
Hello, everybody. We're here. We're ready to podcast. We've got games to talk about. We're going to have loads of games to talk about, probably for a long time now, aren't we?
We are indeed. And there is a Chris with us, though, but it's not Chris Hyde. It's Chris White. Hello, Chris. All right, mate?
Hello, yes. How are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm glad to see you.
Yeah, it feels like it's 2021 again. It's been a while.
It's not been that long, is it?
It was good 6-7 months, I would say.
Since what? Sorry, what we?
We last spoke at all.
It was last on.
I don't think it was that long ago. I know I'm old. It feels like I'm being wound up here. And this podcast,
I think it's a while ago.
Okay, it's just this podcast
Anyway,
is already fraught with danger
now
enough because I have a should we just say an upset stomach, and I'm concerned about the length of this podcast. So we'll see how that goes. And with a view to that, if I do appear to be rushing people along, that's why. But mainly, Chris, like, you've played all the games, it seems. So I thought, you tell us where you'd like to start this week, and we'll do that.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. Now, Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty. I think that's a good place to start.
Why not?
And it's frustrating that this is how it is now because it's excellent. It's absolutely perfect in terms of open world, story, design, visuals, mission structures, variety of missions. Like, the RPG elements are just fantastic. And this could have been what it is now back in whenever it was. But
2021?
Possibly, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
But Phantom Liberty, we'll talk about that because that's obviously the main thing.
Also, because a lot of it, I think, as well as this 2.0 update, I think that is a big deal.
It is. And that's why I'm glad I didn't review it because
it was 2020, by the way. Sorry, it was 2020.
2020.
Wow.
I can't exactly because it's been so long since I played it. I literally played it 2020, finished it when it was all bug ridden and it was a bit of a mess. Dipped my toes in for like half an hour when the PS5 update came out or the next gen update came out and then left it. So jumping back in and starting Phantom Liberty, the expansion with all this new stuff to contend with on top of the new story. It wasn't overwhelming, but it was a lot to kind of get my head around because you obviously have to respec your character, different perks, and all that jazz. So it's a lot more straightforward, I think. You get kind of rewarded for everything you do. There's leveling up, obviously, and there's getting a skill point to use for one of your different, like, strength, intelligence, reflexes, blah 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 blah. Then you get like certain bonuses for just like for the amount of headshots you get, or for certain techniques you use and how you play. Your kind of play style is rewarded just by playing and doing the things that you would normally do. So it's really smart how that's kind of come into play. In terms of Phantom Liberty, so there's a new kind of skill tree, which is they're called relics basically. And you can go and find like relic points on the map, and by doing so, you'll get a relic point, and you get so many. Will unlock certain points. Like it might take 3 to unlock something, might take 1 to unlock one of them, but it's all clearly labeled, and you get to choose like. And they're kind of improved the game quite a bit as well because there's new skills you get to use that you wouldn't have got to see in the old game. But the story, it's like. I don't know how much you can remember from the story, but I couldn't remember anything. so it was kind of, but it doesn't like rely on Cyberpunk 2077's story. It is kind of a new story within itself, and it revolves around the character who you play as, gets an offer at the start by this character whose codename is Songbird, and she wants you to help her with something, and she offers you a chance to get a cure for your whatever, the thing that's taking over your body that's slowly killing you. And this is all in the trailer, so I'm not ruining anything. There's a big accident in the sky where the new United States of America president gets shot out of the sky. and what kind of goes forth, and the story progresses where you have to kind of uncover this political kind of mystery, and it's kind of billed as a bit espionage, and it is. There's anyone that loves Idris Elba is going to be right at home. Anyone that's not that familiar with his work knows who he is, and he's got that kind of calm aggression, like he could snap at any point, and he's very, very kind of subtle actor. And there's times in this where he plays such a good role, and it's a shame you never get to see him interact with Keanu Reeves because they're two like icons, two of the coolest kind of actors everyone kind of loves. But it's still amazing, and obviously, yeah, Keanu Reeves is back and he's doing some more voice work, and Johnny Silverhand's in there, and it can be played at any point of the game. So if you like, right at the start of Cyberpunk, you can go there from the main menu. If not, you'll get a notification from Songbird, and the missions are like so. If you look at your mission screen on the menu, it will say Phantom Liberty underneath, so you know you've got the right one. But it's just like the missions as well. They're very different. There's no fetch quests or any of that nonsense really. It's all very smart, and there is a lot of infiltration, and without ruining too much of the story, you can change the way you look. Not in terms of going to a Ripper dock and doing it, but there's something that you kind of get an implant, and it turns you into another character, and then you have to use like certain bits of knowledge from their backstory to talk to people and make sure you don't mess up, and you have to get it right. So you kind of have to be the character you're taking on. So there's that kind of element to the espionage, but just the gunplay and it's just amazing. Like I'm not even reviewing it, and I started it and I kind of got a bit obsessed with it. And like there's different endings, like there was in Cyberpunk's main story, which are very different, very interesting, and they also lead to different kind of, like it can stop dead in its tracks or it can continue. There's all sorts. So it's just a really well put together, just like Heart of Stone was, and Blood and Wine. They're very, very well made DLCs. It wasn't just some arbitrary kind of expansion with more of the same. There's a lot more in this than there would be in any kind of. I believe CD Projekt Red need redemption or need to be redeemed, but I do think it would do a lot to their credibility because it's released and it's bug free. Nothing. I didn't experience anything. I'm not saying there isn't bugs because there always is, but like it was a very smooth experience from start to finish. So yeah, really good.
I do want to sort of just briefly touch on the 2.0 update thing because I actually haven't played the DLC because although I had a deeper save on PC, I was sort of I'd forgotten so much of the game. I know they've been out there sort of saying like we recommend if you are coming back after all that time just start again because it's that different, and it is like you sort of you covered all the main beats there, I guess, so to speak. But like one of the look, I'll say it and I'll be the one that everyone hates for saying it, but having played Starfield recently, which is a new game this year, and playing Cyberpunk, and I know they're very different games, but they are also big sort of first-person, open-world, story-driven, exploration-driven things with shooting in them. It feels, I mean, for starters, right, I don't know if this is just a new thing for me because it's on PS5 and I hadn't played as much on PS5, but playing this now in 2023 on PlayStation 5 with all the updates, all the bells and whistles, it's ridiculous. Like it's almost one of those, because when people say I haven't upgraded or something to like PlayStation 5 or Series S or X yet, it's one of the, I almost think this might be one of those games visually wise that you go, well, look at this. I think like Returnal's another one. When you see Returnal in action, I think Returnal's another one like that. I don't know that there's as many as people would like to think almost, but like this, like I say, I'll be the one that people hate for saying it, but because I was kind of playing Starfield and this sort of simultaneously, and I like Starfield, but this, like now in the state this is in now, it's so impressive to look at. to play. Like it
I mean, the thing is, it's annoying because it always like the main game was great, but you just couldn't enjoy it, and that's obviously on them.
Yeah, I mean, like going back that far, I remember the PC version pre-release for review, and I remember like I actually had a lot worse luck with the bugs than Mick did because we were both playing it. Like they patched it by the time it came out, but pre-release there was like a bug where not everyone got it. Like Mick didn't, I don't think, but for me, anytime I killed anyone, and I mean anyone at all, their gun would just be floating in the middle of the air, and like that sort of stuff happened. And I'm like you. I'm not here to say this is bug free because like they're such big games. I don't know. There's probably something in there like that's, there's bugs. I'm sure there's. I think Mick said he found some, but like didn't affect his enjoyment. It's really weird. Like it's not often this kind of game gets a redemption arc, and kind of fair play to them because I think a lot of people might have cut and run, and the amount of shit they were getting for such a long period of time. I'm not saying that would have been okay, but I think people wouldn't have blamed them on a human level for going like, look, here's The Witcher 4. You know what I mean? Like, forget about all that. Here's The Witcher 4, and we're gonna. I wouldn't have blamed them.
Yeah,
I've got to say, it feels new. It does. Like it's not. I don't think it's the. Like people are. I have seen people talking like it is like a brand new game. It is still that game. The skills and everything do make a big difference. Like right away, they make a big difference in terms of how. It just feels more rewarding. Like I would find myself looking at the skill tree in the original game, not knowing what to pick, and not because it's like, oh, there's so much good stuff here. It's kind of the opposite. It was kind of like this is all just, it's all bullshit. None of this is of any use to me. Like I can't choose between this because none of it matters. And now as you say, like now those skills all feel kind of important. But also they've got like I've seen it. In fact, Starfield kind of does this as well, where you've got like you say, if you get headshots, you'll upgrade that ability itself. Will get like, you got a 5% bonus, and if it's difficult though. I don't know if I'd say, if you just hated it and now's the time, because it is fundamentally still Cyberpunk 2077. But at the same time, it does feel significantly better.
The expansion itself, like the Phantom Liberty, like there's a whole new area to that is now available to explore. Your missions, you've got about. I mean, ideally, like I can't remember exactly how long it took me, but I would say about 12 hours to do the main story.
Okay.
And that's with a few side missions along the way and a bit of exploration. So you could easily get 20 to 25 hours out of it if you wanted, and then you can also, because it's like right next to the original city, which I can't remember what it's called, but it's literally Night City. There we go. So it's right there. You can go between it. You can go back to the main game and do main missions. You're not stuck in Dogtown for like the whole time. And it does cool things that like certain games don't. So like you've got your phone and you can bring it up and call people and message people.
Yes,
I remember. So in the main game you can form relationships, can't you, and friendships and all kinds of stuff. And I remember Panam messaged me when I was playing. Like I was doing all the missions in Dogtown, and she was like, asking how are you, how's it going? And I was talking to her about what was going on in Dogtown. She was like, I'll be careful and stuff like that. So there's like. It links back to the original characters from the main game that aren't in it, but are still around because it obviously takes place before the end of the. There's like in Cyberpunk, anyone that's played it, you get to a point, like with most games, where it does this is the point of no return. Do you want to continue? So it kind of, as long as you're before there, you can play this mission, and it's just very, very smart in what it does, and it's some things that only kind of CD Projekt Red can do well. But it's fantastic.
Well, let's move on to another game that is also fantastic, but is a lot. Well, I'll say a lot newer. This is with the DLC; it's brand new. I'm curious, actually, Lyle. I know you're not like a massive fighting game fan, but Mortal Kombat 1 of interest?
It's tough because I would have said kind of alongside with, Street Fighter 6 was this year, and that's the comparison everyone's going to be making, right? It feels like, because the two big fighting games, it feels like both of these games I would really like to have the time to play. But to be honest, I don't really see it happening. I mean, fighting games for me definitely aren't like, they're sort of towards the bottom end of the genres that work for me. And I've definitely played through at least a couple of Mortal Kombat like campaigns, and like, because I also did like Injustice, not Mortal Kombat but DC. So like they're probably like the fighting games where someone like me generally gets the most mileage, because they're kind of fairly campaign heavy. But yeah, like I say, maybe not something I will really find time for, unfortunately, but I wish I could.
This one actually seems more campaign heavy than ever. Chris, I don't know if you'll agree with this or not, because I've played through the story, and it's about the usual length I think you'd expect. I do think it's quite clever what they've done, because I was talking to Sean about this because he loves his fighters, and he's like, "Oh, I can't afford MK1, so I'm going to buy Mortal Kombat 11. By the way, this is going to get really confusing in a few years when Mortal Kombat 2 is out. I reckon this is going to get really, really too much." But he said, "I'm going to play Mortal Kombat 11." And I said, "Well, actually, that's probably the worst one I would say to pick, because that's the sequel to 10.
Yeah.
And while this is and while Mortal Kombat 1 is the sequel to Mortal Kombat 11, the story is such that 10 and 11 are like part 1 and part 2. And while this might be part 3, it's almost also a complete reboot. And they do explain the events of those games in enough sort of brevity that you can just get on board with it. And I think that's quite clever, because I think people might go, I don't know. I don't know if anyone's genuinely going, everyone says such good things about Mortal Kombat, but number 11, the Final Fantasy problem. Do you know what I mean? Where people are like, but I won't know the story for 13. Well, hey, Mortal Kombat 1.
There's obviously there's callbacks, because it does call back. That's
it is a continuation, but it's also
but it's like, you don't need to know what happened in 11.
Not for this one, I don't think.
It kind of explains it right at the start.
But what I was quite impressed with is, although they've got this story mode, and as usual, it's fantastic. Like, the thing that I don't know, again, if this is something that when you were reviewing it, you gave it 10 out of 10. Go to godisgeek.com and read that review. One of the things, and it's never really quite occurred to me before when playing this or Injustice, but this one, it really stood out to me. The money they must have spent on the movie, essentially, that they've made. Because they've essentially made a movie where you play most of the fights.
Yeah,
I don't know why it's never stood out as such before, but this was like, wow, because it looks incredible. I'd watch it. Like, if they had just said, "Oh, by the way, I watch these as movies. They're great." Like, and even did that sort of. Do you know when you? I'll tell you what. Here's a great comparison for you. I recently watched the Super Mario Brothers movie, and I'm really late to that party. I know that, but one of the things that Chris Pratt's Mario, isn't he? And it's like, what's the voice going to be like? And initially, because it's not the voice, you're like, I mean, it's fine. But then you grow to it, and it becomes the voice. And that's what happened to me with like Johnny Cage in this. Like, initially, the voice was like, I'm not sure I like this new Johnny Cage sort of the way he's acting and that. But then by the end of it, I love Johnny Cage, and I think that it's really clever. But then on top of that, you got the Invasions thing, which is going to be seasonal, which I'd heard about from yourself, but like I didn't quite get it until I played it. And like, that's single player as well. Like, it feels like a lot more content with a K than like I can recall. Like, that Invasions thing, I was playing it, and I thought it was just his house, and then you finish that, and that's the tutorial, and there's all these other bits. It's like, wow, this is a lot. I could just keep playing this, and you're progressing like the systems as well. It is. I think it's a very accessible fighting game as well. Like, I think a lot of fighting games are nowadays and have to be accessible. I think most games should be and are in some degree accessible. But what I mean is, like, this isn't a game I think that you need to have masses of history with fighting games, because I think the input windows, it's different. Like, Lyle, you mentioned Street Fighter and MK. Like, for me, I get what you're saying, but for me, they are literally like the other ends of the scale, and I love them both.
I get that.
Exactly the things they do that the other one doesn't. Like, I love that Street Fighter, now Street Fighter's done that inclusivity thing where you can modern controls. But with Mortal Kombat, I love the fact that yes, there is enough depth there that you can learn, and you probably would and should learn timings, and like there's now the cameo moves, and like one of the, I think, is it Chris, is it a tutorial where they give you a cameo thing where the one that flies across the top of the screen, so you knock them up in the air, she hits them, and then you can continue a combat, and that bit you do have to time. However, if you want to just go square, triangle, square, and that's one of the combos, it isn't like you have to visibly look at it on screen and go, right, hit, hit, hit. You just go bang, bang, bang on the controller, and it will just, it's registered those inputs, it will do those inputs. And I think that makes it quite accessible. I fucking love this game. Like, I didn't think there was any way, if we probably don't do these lists at Game of the Year time, I don't think there's any way that I would have been like, well, in terms of sports or fighters, Street Fighter 6, blah, 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 I didn't think Mortal Kombat could get anywhere near it. And I'm not saying it beats it, but like, I didn't expect it to be as good as this, because I expected it to be Mortal Kombat, but the cameo thing just adds... Again, I think it's really clever. There's characters that you can have as cameo fighters that aren't in the game to play as, like Frost. Is it Cyrax and Sector? Are they both cameos?
Yeah, Sonya Blade. Kano.
That's another thing that I thought was really interesting, is that it didn't even occur to me until I'd finished the story. Sonya's not in this game.
No.
Jax is. No spoilers.
But that's good.
No, that's what I mean. Like,
they're not relying on
they ditched the kid characters.
The main cast of characters from the originals. So like Kano as well.
The amount of reptiles in it, or Rain, and these are characters that when like the first Mortal Kombats were out, they were kind of bonus, almost joke unlocked, like Ermac. The anagram of cream, you know, I was half expecting Tobias Boone to pop up. Do you know what I mean? Like, as like all these and Jesus Christ, like we can't spoil it, but what they do towards the end of the story. Mortal Kombat 2, again, acknowledge how stupid the conventions of the namings are here, but Mortal Kombat 2 could be ridiculous. Like they have, I thought from hearing what I heard about this from you and from other things, that Mortal Kombat 1 had opened up the door itself, or the end of Mortal Kombat 11 had opened up the door to what they would go batshit with in Mortal Kombat 1, and really it's actually Mortal Kombat 1 that the ending... we can't spoil, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, it is... I don't know what they'll do next, but I've at least got a bit of a feeling. Like, is this game... Yeah, it's fantastic. It's really good. I sort of don't know what else to say about it. I mean, you let's say you give it 10 out of 10.
I just like it's what I want. It's what I want out of a fighting game, and it's always the little things, and just like the campaign is for let's say new people are coming to play this. Campaign's perfect because it gives you a chance to play through pretty much 90% of the characters.
Certainly the main ones that you probably would care about.
All the important ones.
Yeah.
And whilst there are other fighters that kind of have clear cut, like you have your generic, not generic fighters, but your balanced fighters, and you have your fast fighters, and you have your big old, hench fellas and females. And then so there's always different kind of, but it's very nuanced in the range of characters, but it's all about how you play with the movesets and work out your own combos and then, which has always kind of been a thing with Mortal Kombat, but then they introduced the cameos to then extend combos even longer. So people that's watch, when you go online and you play a fighter, and I did it in the beta because, that was kind of all there was other than the tower. So I went online and there's people there who've clearly been there practicing and you're like, I am rubbish.
Yeah.
But then when you get time with it and you get time to see who you want to play as, who you feel has a better combos, I think people are going to come out of this with new favorites because there's a lot of good characters in this game.
100%.
And you'll get that taste through the campaign. And then you've got the invasions, which they do. So in invasions, you can get certain characters where you'll fight. Let's say, I don't know, reptiles there, and you'll fight reptile. Then a couple of stages later, you'll fight a reptile version where he'll maybe have a different outfit, and maybe he's got a different kind of elemental attack or elemental kind of affliction. And then you might fight a reptile who's been fused with another character.
Yep.
You know, that there's all that, and then that goes across the whole cast, and then you can select whoever you want to take part in all of these fightings, and it kind of plays out on this big board game, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And you move from spot to spot, either taking on a challenge or go into a tower. There might be a tower there.
You have to get keys to unlock doors and so. And there's like talismans that you can equip.
Shops.
Shops, forges.
And it's just really entertaining. And I think just go back to the story. And I know this is like a multiplayer game as well. We're talking about the single player thing.
Yeah.
But this is where it's the best, you know. And I think the story, like the writing is, you don't expect. I don't know why, but I always assume fighting games not to have a lot of thought gone into the story. And like Street Fighter 6,
it is weird, right? Because
as good
when
as
you
it
think
was,
about it,
the story was pretty generic. And
yes,
and the writing was just typical.
It was
Capcom.
Yeah.
In Street Fighter sense, let's say, because there are other Capcom games which are really good. Hints for later, shortly. But the story is so well written, and there's so many levels to it. Like there's the humor, there's like, because it's like a new reality. There's the bit really close to the start where Kung Lao throws his hat at Sub-Zero, but it's a straw hat, so it just bounces off him. That's a joke about it. It's stupid. But there's like loads of that. But then there's like loads of kind of serious bits. There's like
Kenshi, for example.
Kenshi and Johnny Cage. Their bromance is the best thing about it.
I like Kenshi getting a bit more screen time in the modern games. Like I thought, it's just you mentioned the cameo stuff, and I think that's because when I first did the tutorials for that, I didn't realise that they all do different moves. I kind of thought they'd all like, oh, here's a throw cameo and here's an air cameo. It blows my mind a bit that, like, because all you have to do is tap R1 for certain elements, but they'll come on and do a different special move based on who you've got as a cameo character, right? And like,
it's very different. It's just a lot going on, and like the micro transactions. Like, I just want to mention them quickly. There's barely any kind of. It's like you go onto NBA 2K, for example. There's a barrier for progression. Every time it's horrendous, and it will always be horrendous because they'll keep making money off it. So why change it? Mortal Kombat, you constantly earning currency, and like you play for, I don't know, go invasion 45 minutes. You then accumulated loads of like coin to go and spend at the Dragon Forge or Dragon Altar or whatever it is, and then you could unlock new skins, artwork, gear, whatever. You can then go into the store and spend certain things. The seasonal kind of currency that you unlock, the seasonal credits, I think they're called, with a K. You can then go and unlock certain things to do with whatever season theme it is. So like, there's the seasonal content which will keep people playing. I'll be going back every time. Then you've got we ain't even got any of the DLC characters yet, and there'll be more announced. There will be. But I'm getting Homelander, for God's sake.
Oh yeah,
which is just incredible. I mean, Omni-Man.
He's going to
be brutal, and then you're getting Quan Chi as well. You know, there's loads to come.
Homelander's going to be violent, isn't he?
I can't wait to see his fatality. I can't wait to see what it is because he's an absolute psycho.
He's going to be, It's a wonderful game, like, and we've barely touched upon it, but like the audio and if you're watching this, great time to pimp this out. YouTube.com/GodIsAGeek. We do this podcast live, and you can see some of the games in action. And like, this game looks great. It looks great. But go and read the review. God is a Geek, 10 out of 10. 2 fighters this year. Wow, that have absolutely gone above and beyond. Like,
and there's still a Tekken.
That's next year, though, isn't it?
What is it?
Yeah, that's early next year. They did announce. Yep.
I honestly thought. I was going to say that would have been an amazing year.
That'd be too much for me. I don't think.
Yeah,
I don't think I could cope. Because Tekken's another one that kind of that is almost like straddles the balance. In if they're on the scales, you need to put a third one in the middle for Tekken. Like yeah. Anyway, we're going to talk some more sport, but we're not going to do that immediately because it's a bit unfair on Lyle. So Lyle, what would you like to talk about?
Well, we could just talk about like food or
all right.
politics.
Which game would you like to talk about?
All right. Yeah, I will. But let's go from, we were talking. Chris hinted at Capcom, so let's go in back to the Resident Evil 4 remake, because there is a reason to go back to that now, and that is it's Separate Way, right? Separate Way, is that what it's called? Suddenly I've just lost that.
It is, and I hate to derail you as soon as you start. Chris, are you eating a pork pie?
No, don't.
But you're on camera, mate. I don't know what to say. You're on camera. I mean, I'm not the only one noticing this.
I just wanted to casually eat a pork pie because I've not eaten yet. So.
Okay, no, nor have I, but apologies.
Oh.
No, it's fine. Sorry.
Pork and pickle pie.
Pork and pickle pies are good. Yeah. If you like food chat, go to patreon.com/GodIsAGeek, where you'll find a chopping board, the chopping board of food podcast. But Lyle, sorry, Resident Evil 4 Separate Ways.
Yes, which is basically, it was in the original Resident Evil 4 back on, the GameCube and PS2 and Wii and all those places. It branched out to every console ever after that. And it was like a little mission where you played as Ada, fan favorite Ada, probably for lewd reasons. And she had a little mission to try and save Leon. And it was one of those things where I definitely played it, but I basically don't remember anything about it. It was like a random extra thing that unlocked when you finished the game.
I don't think I played it.
Oh, okay.
I thought I did, but I've only played the first 2 chapters. But playing these, I'm like, obviously I know the locations.
Yes.
But I'm like, I don't think I. But then it's this game looks so great and so new that I don't know.
And this is not really that. In that was like this.
That's what I was going
to
ask.
Bonus episode thing where I'd say it lasted. I mean, it's hard to remember because
it's 2 hours from my research.
The original, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, the original.
Yeah. So it was like this. I remember doing it in one session, it being quite fun, but this short little burst of playing as a different character and doing slightly different things. This is its own separate I'd say mini campaign, but I think over 5 hours, I don't know if we can call it a mini campaign anymore. It's basically just a campaign, just an extra campaign. But yeah, you play as Ada, and it goes through the entire events of the game essentially as the main campaign as Leon, but just seeing what Ada was doing at the time. And so you'll be doing some shady stuff in the background because Ada's a little bit of a shady character, and then there'll be a bit where you suddenly see in one of the cutscenes that Leon's fighting the villagers at the start of the game, and you'll be like, oh, that's what's happening at this point. And what's really cool about this game being so much shorter than the main campaign is that they do everything at a breakneck pace. So you go through basically all these areas. You go through, the village, the castle, the island, the 3 main areas. But because you've got a third of the time, it means you don't really see the same enemies for very long. It's not this drawn out thing. And because you've obviously played through the whole campaign, you're familiar with everything. So it's cool to just have that rapid pace. You get money a lot quicker, you upgrade your weapons a lot quicker, but it's got all those elements. It's got all the upgrades. It's got requests from the merchant back again. Was that in the original? Do you remember?
Because that was one of those things where I was like, I'm sure they didn't do this.
No. So that wasn't in the original, and then they added it even for this bonus.
I've got a question, if that's all right. So online on the old Twits or X or whatever it is, I've seen a clip of something from the DLC, and I can't remember this being in the original. The hallway with the lasers.
Yeah.
Is that in the original, or is that actually a throwback to the film?
The laser scene was in the original when you played as Leon, but they didn't bring it back for the remake, so they kind of brought it back for this episode. And there's another few bits that
is it a fight? Is there a boss fight?
There is a boss fight.
Okay, because they did cut a boss fight. I recall from the. God Almighty, we've picked a load of games deliberately to confuse ourselves. But Resident Evil 4 remake, there was a boss fight in a cage.
Yeah, that's something like that. Yeah, but there was a missing boss fight essentially.
Right.
This kind of it takes some elements that were missing. It takes you back to a lot of familiar locations, like the hedge maze, for example, from which is kind of like a very crucial, quite iconic moment in the story. That's there now, but because Ada is completely different, because Ada has a grappling hook, she doesn't really have to navigate the maze. She literally just uses a grappling hook to go from one side of the maze to the other, so you don't have to like navigate it properly. And that's like this really cool thing. The grappling hook alongside that can be used in combat. So whereas when you're playing as Leon, if you like stun an enemy, you have to run up to him and do a roundhouse. As Ada, you can melee attack from any distance. So if you press A and you're on the other side of like a fucking massive path, but you've happened to have stunned someone with your shot, you'll grapple onto them and like do like the flying kick into them, which just means you basically never miss a melee attack, which is
so good,
amazing. Yeah. And then I mean, they've even got stuff like the little charms that you put on your bag from the remake. There's one of those that can be unlocked later on where you can grapple enemy shields away from them. So, which is like ridiculously powerful. Like those shielded enemies are bastards. So like stuff like that, they've incorporated all these elements. It's really cool. There are some other like set pieces and bosses and stuff that I don't want to spoil, but like there's a boss fight I think in this that might end up on best moments, or I'll at least try and
play it.
Chris, like the thing is, right, is I started playing it because I knew we were going to talk about it and I wanted to get a bit of footage, and I thought I'd just do a bit of it, and I played 2 hours. Well, not quite even, but the chapters are significant. Like, I thought that they are a bit shorter. Like they are the actual chapters are like, perhaps from my experience, obviously, Lyle, you can for the rest of the game, but like let's say a chapter was an hour in Resident Evil 4 remake, the chapter's now like maybe 30 to 40 minutes tops, but it also depends how you play it. Like, because I'm sort of scouring, like I found a bird's nest in chapter 2 on a roof, like, and that seems to be another thing you can do. Like I don't know what that's related to, because I didn't find any others and I haven't finished it, but like I know what you're saying, like we are about to hit critical mass with October in terms of games, but the thing is you boot this game up and you haven't played it since earlier this year.
Yeah,
sometime
February, March, like that.
And you boot it up and you start playing it and you're like, oh my god, I forgot. I mean, I didn't forget because I remember saying we all agreed it was a 10 out of 10, but I did forget because it feels like it's been forever. And I'm not, like, I know you're joking, but it doesn't. I'm like, oh no, I have to play more of this. Oh, dreadful, what an awful thing that it is. I mean, I text Lyle at one point after a boss fight in chapter 2 again, I think, where I was like, that boss can just F off. Like, it's one, and it actually, it got me thinking about this, and I messaged you guys, like, there's something about this game that I think it does so cleverly when you almost stockpile all this ammo and goodies, and then you hit a boss fight. And the main game does this as well, and it rinses you of them. And at first, you're like, for God's sake! But it's designed to do that. It's. I would love to interview whoever is responsible for that sort of system, if you like, because it's like I bet that there's some sort of bar that moves, like this enemy has this much health, but now actually because you've got so much more ammo, it's got more health, and like I bet there's some sort of moving bar there, because like it's so clever, sure. Man, it really is. It's so cleverly done.
And alongside that as well, if you haven't played since launch, you probably haven't played Mercenaries, which is another reason you should play this game, because the Mercenaries mode is amazing, and they've just added 2 new characters to that to go alongside this as well. So like, it's just this whole extra mode that's like arcadey fun, but they added kind of a lot more and like special abilities and stuff that makes it even cooler. And yeah, it's really, really good. I think this was released at a really good time for Game of the Year discussions to be like, hey, don't forget about us.
Oh, yeah,
man. Really good, but right?
Like,
start of the year.
I get what you're saying, but it also made me think, God damn, we're spoiled when it comes to games these days, aren't we?
Oh my God, yes.
Like Resident Evil 4, as if that game wasn't good enough. The remake is ridiculously good. And like I say, playing this DLC now, like late September, it's like, Jesus, this is good. It's
ridiculously good. And and alongside everything else as well, should probably mention that it's $7.99 this DLC. Like, it's not expensive. This isn't a big, you're gonna be like paying like half a game again to get this. It's like it's ridiculously well priced. It's not something I normally really like mention massively in a review like that, but at that price I was like, I do have to say that's really fucking good though.
I would also add to that, like, I don't know, like Capcom are on some streak at the moment, because even Exo Primal, I know none of us are raving about Exo Primal, but it is a good and well made game. But that RE engine is something else. Now I can't speak to this game, but I will say make sure you're subscribed, and you can actually go and read a preview of Sean's hands-on time with Dragon's Dogma 2. We'll have a video of that soon with some new footage that we captured. But even that, I didn't play it. I just saw it, and it's like that damn engine is that engine's unreal. That's not quite what I meant, because that engine isn't unreal. It's the RE engine, and it's like every game they make in that engine, like, wow. Anyway, Lyle, this game, we like to shine lights on smaller games as well.
We do.
So, how do you say this game's name?
I say 30XX because it's like it's a year. It's like a pun on the Mega Man 2000X 20XX like year that those games are supposed to take place in. But yeah, 30XX is it is Mega Man X, so like the Super Nintendo series if it was a roguelike. So it is basically you can play as one of two characters, and one of them has a shooty gun and one of them has a lasery sword. So, you know, like the two Mega Man characters from those games. And you basically, you go on roguelike runs. So, like, there are random levels that have all these randomized pieces. Like, it has the amount it feels like Mega Man is kind of wild. Like, it's got like there'll be some stages that are like anti-gravity where you'll be on the roof or won't be on the roof, which is always something I associate with Mega Man. They'll have like vanishing platforms and all those like elements you'll expect, but then alongside that you'll be playing and you'll suddenly collect some sort of like you'll do a little challenge room where it's like don't take damage, and you can pick a really cool upgrade, and then you'll suddenly have an upgrade where you don't get damaged by spikes 3 times every level, so you don't have to worry about that. Or you'll get an upgrade where you'll start like vampiring health off enemies every time you shoot, you hurt them. So, or, you know, and you'll face these massive boss fights which are fucking mental. But like, because this is a Mega Man game essentially, or like a Mega Man inspired game, the boss fights are like you'd expect them to be ridiculously hard, and you know they are still very hard, but they do this clever thing where they have like little danger indicators wherever a boss is going to like fire at, so you kind of stand a chance on your first try instead of having to learn all these patterns and shit, which you really would in, you know, a more stationary game where you actually have extra lives and shit, so you can kind of experiment with that. And it's just like, it's really, really good. Like at this point in the year, it made it onto my top 10, and I can't pretend it will definitely be there, you know, after fucking October, or, you know, after catching up on a few other games. But for any game to be this year to be making a top 10, like it has done something very right. And I'm a huge Mega Man fan, like unashamed, like massive Mega Man fan. Like before I was playing every game I could for reviews and to keep up with what was, you know, the latest shit, like playing old Mega Man games would be something I do all the fucking time. So this appeals massively to me, and it's like infinite forever Mega Man, and it's got co-op and it's got community levels, and it is as much infinite Mega Man as you can have, and it feels just like those games. So if you're a big fan of Mega Man, I've said the word Mega Man so much it's lost all meaning. But if you are a big fan, if you are a mega fan of Mega Man, then 38 the game for you.
That's pretty good. I'm going to write that down. Mega fan of Mega Man. That's pretty good, Lyle. I didn't like it for obvious reasons.
No, you didn't, because you don't like Mega Man.
No.
And you read my review and were like, oh, but I probably should. Like, I like the sound of this a bit, and you know, you've rated it really highly, and then you played it and you're like, oh, fuck, it's Mega Man. I don't like that.
I do like how it sounds. I like how it looks, and I like the idea of it. And I do actually think it's not. I don't hate it. Like I really don't like the Mega Man series. It's one of the few series out there that I just don't like. Like, I would point blank not play one for review. It wouldn't be fair on the game, to be completely honest with you as well. Aside from the fact it wouldn't be fair on me. It's just it does. It's definitely close enough to Mega Man. I get it 100%. But it's also, I do think it's a bit more responsive and a bit more modern. If that, like, it's not quite as harsh to control. It is more modern. It feels like a new video game. That's, I think, what I'm trying to say. But I know I get it. If you like Mega Man, I would. Yeah. Now I'm doing it. Mega Man.
Mm-hmm. Mega Man.
Crikey. One more game this week, Chris. We won't do this. We won't talk for long. But EA Sports FC 24 is out now if you pay for the expensive version, and it's out this week if you don't, or you want to do a trial. I just wanted to briefly mention it because, like, I think it's a really, really good game of football. Like, I totally get that there are elements of it they will refine over time. Like, there's some debug text and stuff in there still, like that, but they'll patch that within a week, I would have thought. And for everything else, like playing a lot of career mode recently, I get why they, you can have the cutscenes. Well, yeah, I know because you reviewed it, Chris. You have the cutscenes of like transfers and when a player leaves or signs and all that. I kind of wish they'd just get rid of that.
I hate it
because when they first were going to do it, you're like, yeah, no, great, more immersion. But when they actually did it, you're like, don't do it like that.
It's just the same, like, it's the same bloody people at every club, and the same people at every training ground.
But like, I think I made the joke last year about how when you sell someone, either whether it's a transfer on loan or a transfer for good, they're escorted out of the club, kind of with their clutch bag at their front, and it's like and they're sort of like, oh, like they're walking out all sad. It's like, mate, you're 19 and you're going on loan to you're coming back. That's why I've loaned you, because I want you're on the. You know what I mean? It's like you're not going for good. You're coming back. But you're not. It's still got some weird stuff in it. Like I started a Liverpool career mode and I converted this new player to a right back, playing in the same position as Trent Alexander-Arnold, a player I'm sure that Lyle you've heard of yourself.
Big fun, yeah.
Yeah. But the thing was, right, is I dropped him for a cup game like you wouldn't, like happens in real life.
Of course it does, yeah. And then Trent Alexander-Arnold got pissed off with you.
Well, no, he said he came to me and goes, "Oh, I've read everything they're saying about me in the press. Please give me another chance." It's like, it was against fucking Millwall, mate. Like, I didn't want you to get
stupid.
You're an important player. I didn't want you getting your leg snapped against Millwall. Like and like it still does that stuff. And it's like, I think they either need to address that or drop it. But the reason I'm starting with a negative is because actually on the pitch, this is so good. Like, at first I wasn't sure. Like, I was like, does this feel different enough? Have they done the safe thing of, well, we can't call it FIFA, but we don't want to spend billions on it because it's a inverted commas new franchise. I think it plays a really good game of football on the pitch. I think
was it last year Hypermotion got introduced or the year before?
It might have been I'm not sure actually.
But like I remember when it got introduced and you play it and you're like, yeah, the replays are slower and they've got stats on the screen. It's like, it didn't feel massively different. But I mean, thank you to the person who pointed this out on social media. I appreciate it. That I say the word realistic quite a bit in the review.
Uh-huh.
But it's not realistic because you have whatever, right? It is realistic in the sense that when you're playing as the big boys or the big girls, there is a massive difference from playing as like Brighton versus
Derby
Luton.
or someone. Luton, yeah.
So there are a lot of difference and there are a lot of animations and it but when you're playing as like Real Madrid, for example, or PSG, Bayern, Barcelona, whoever's got like the big stars in the team, they all have play styles.
Yep.
And I remember when I tried out this for the first time, because I just went straight for a career with Brighton in the career mode. And then I went and did some friendlies and whatnot. And playing Real Madrid against, I can't remember, someone, I say it in the review, but the different play styles of the different, like there's obviously certain players for Real Madrid who have got more attuned to certain skills in real life. Like you've got Vinicius on the wing, who's like a demon on that ball. Like the speed, the pacing, the way you can take on defenders like that. Like that felt amazing. Jude Bellingham's control and like technique in the middle of the park. He can take on players, but he's a very keen eye for passing. There's just every kind of player has a different play style. When you're playing as a team with different players that all have these abilities, it feels like a different game. And that if you're going online, you're not going to be going online and playing as like bloody Luton or Brighton, really. You'll be playing as these teams. You're playing as Bayerns and Reals. So the matchups that you're going to get are going to be great because everyone's going to attune themselves to that team with those players, play against another team from around the world who will be focused on another kind of squad, and you get some really good games. And it feels incredible. It is realistic in the sense it pays attention to real world players' skills. And like on top 100%. Of their stats, you then have these play styles which boost them even further, like Haaland. And obviously everyone bangs on about Haaland in EA Sports FC 24 because he is the best striker in the world. He is, for me, he's the best striker in the world. And his power and accuracy and speed as well, like it all factors into his shots. And like his power shot kind of play style, anyone can take a power shot by pressing the two shoulder buttons down and shoot. Mm-hmm. But he does it a lot quicker with a lot more power, and you can, it's amazing.
I think it really feels like they've paid attention to the nuance of the high-level game. Now, I understand if people feel aggrieved by that and wish that there was more attention to the lower leagues, and I totally get that. But, like, you miss time a tackle, and they drop the shoulder and they're gone, and with pace, and you're not going to get back in. And that feels quite new to me. Like, you have to. I think it makes it a more patient defensive game in that respect.
100% does.
But also, like, there are players. Mo Salah. I talked about Liverpool. That Mo Salah, in this game, you do not want him to cut inside on his left foot because he has the play style plus for finesse shot, and he will fucking put it in the corner of the back of the net. Like and that's real life. I'm not saying this is like real life 1-1, but like in real life, the second he drops a shoulder and goes towards the box with a little bit of a side-on angle, everyone watching the TVs, watching him doing it, knows he is going to try and curl that into the top corner. And that is exactly what you do in FC24 with him. And that's the example I would use. But like I think there are, there's passing, there's defensive ones, like there's. Because what they said to me when they did the preview presentation stuff was that the playstyles, what they do is they add animation levels to the players. So there's like a base level of defensive animation. And I noticed this, again, playing a Liverpool career with Van Dijk. So he will jump over, almost lean on and jump over people to head the ball. And that is part of the playstyle plus the additional animations. I don't want to sort of dwell on it for too long, but I just did want to give it a shout because it is a big game, and it is, for whatever you might think about they need to address things like Pro Clubs still need to Volta.
Volta's annoying because me and Evie play Volta all the time, and we played it all the time in 23.
They've hardly touched it.
They haven't touched it. No. It's exactly the same.
Yep.
Same arenas. No modes other than kickoff.
My instinct would be there that they have the data of how many people play that, and I would imagine it's. I'm not saying that's right.
A couple of new arenas.
Yeah, just something. Yeah. But Pro Clubs is now like cross play. There's you can actually go and read features on God is a Geek that show.
Yeah.
What's changed in that. There's still a ways to go. There is, but like for a first new. For this, I think it's just what matters to me is that these games you end up playing hundreds and hundreds of hours of them, and like the menu system isn't perfect. Cool, there's all that stuff, but what matters is how it feels when you're playing the actual football part of it, and that's really, 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 really satisfying and good for me this year. And on that note, we can move on to Chris White's listener correspondence with the normal jingle, but yeah.
Listener correspondence. It's time. Chris Hyde.
So, listener correspondence, Mr. Adam Cook, you off first, and these are all from Mick. So, thank you for that. I think we've answered some of these already, but we'll go through them anyway. Have you tried cross progression in Cyberpunk 2077 yet?
Not since they updated and all that. I did originally transfer a save from PC, like good old games, GOG, to PS5. I think that at the time you could only do that, and it worked fine. I haven't. I'm afraid. Not the new version, sorry. So that's a short answer, but
no, it's all right. And then, should you start Phantom Liberty directly from the early parts, or do it after beating the main story of the base game?
Well, I see. I'm quite early on in my save on PS5, like 4 or 5 hours in, and it just says to me that I have to go off and kind of, it says something like become a legend of Night City. So I think there must be some stuff you have to do, some stuff before you can just get into it. But like, I don't know. I mean, you probably could answer that better. Just do it when you want, I guess.
I mean, yeah, I read on, I think it was on Twitter, someone who worked on it said you can go in from the start of the menu, or there's like a very early mission where you have to meet a certain character, and as soon as you've done that, you can go and you get the mission from Songbird that pops up on your phone.
Yeah, maybe
I think there is a way for you to get there pretty early, but
yeah.
But just if I were you, just enjoy playing the main game and let it happen naturally.
Yeah,
because it will specify as well that it's a Phantom Liberty mission, so you'll know when it is. But it's someone called Songbird; she'll pop up, and that's where it starts.
There you go. Sorry.
So do you like Starfield more or less than Fallout 4?
I like Starfield more than Fallout 4.
Would you like care to elaborate?
I just there's a lot more about it that feels modern, and like Fallout 4 felt very much like Fallout 3, only they added the base building stuff, which I've many times said is not my cup of tea. And Starfield, I know it has all that, but like it really, so far I'm into double digits, like I'm 13, 14 hours, maybe 15. None of that base building or even starship building stuff feels like it's thrown, you really have to do it. It's just like if you want to, you can. Like you could probably make more money. Like if I was making outposts and stuff and mining, I could make more money and I could get a better starship. But like it doesn't feel like it's essential at the moment. Whether it does or not, I don't know. But like I feel like Starfield they're very similar games, but Starfield certainly feels more freer than it doesn't sort of force you to do anything. You can kind of do what you want, and so I prefer Starfield in that respect.
Fair enough. And then finally, what do you loading want to see loading fixed in Starfield loading patches?
I mean, obviously that, but I don't think that's going to come very quickly. I think I'd rather they did focus on making it a more immersive experience, and like, so Bethesda games. Lyle, how much did you play of Starfield?
Like a couple of hours.
Okay.
I got a little bit bored, unfortunately.
But you're familiar with the games that they make, is what I mean. Like,
yeah. I've played loads of Skyrim, Fallout.
So
all of them.
you walk up to someone in first person or third, I guess, if you're a heathen.
Weirdo.
You walk up to someone and then you press the interact button, and the camera will change to sort of frame the person you're speaking to, the character. And that's that's fine. That's kind of a hallmark of Bethesda game studios. But what shouldn't be is like when you'll find someone just randomly naked behind you, or your character, your
I love that.
Or you might find your companion just walking into a wall or half in a wall, and like I'd rather they fix that sort of stuff. To
I feel like that's quite traditional Bethesda game studios.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be though, should it?
Oh, I don't know about that. That's quite fun.
But I'd like that. I don't know. I do. I mean, it's not really a patch, it's a fix. As I said the other week, they did mention they had heard people talking about cities and planet maps.
Oh yeah.
I really would like them to be. Well, I'd like them to exist. But like, I don't think. I would like to see some of the loading fixed. Like I understand the object permanence is an issue, but I do think that there are certain areas that are like always the same when you walk through the door. And I feel like they should load quicker on a Series X, but yeah. So kind of that, but mostly immersion stuff. I'd rather they fix that stuff. Chris, your question's next, so I'll ask them. Have you tried Mortal Kombat 1 on Switch?
No.
Okay.
And I won't.
No.
And like, when I wrote my review and I played, they all came out and whatnot. It was like, yeah, people seem to love this. And then there's that one picture of Melina, and her face it's so awful. And like Johnny Cage's, so I've not actually played it, so I don't know how bad it is. But from these screens I've seen, it's like, yeah, think they've dropped a bit of a clanger with it. But like, I haven't played it, so I don't know.
I don't think I'd want to.
I wouldn't. Are you when a game
No,
a
not
game is that
really.
good visually? Why would you play it on the Switch?
Unless it's your only option, in which
Yeah,
case
yeah,
it
yeah,
needs
yeah,
to be
yeah,
better and fair enough.
Yeah.
But sticking with Mortal Kombat 1, what do you want to see added to Invasions later on? That's a tricky one.
I'm kind of content with what they do in the mode in terms of the variety of fights. Because you do get one-on-ones, but you also get those where you have to take on 3 enemies at a time with just your one character and their health bar. And I like the towers. I'd like maybe themed seasons. So when it gets to Christmas, have a Christmas theme mode where you can earn like Santa outfits for Sub-Zero and stuff.
See, now you've kind of made me want them put John McClane in the game with a Santa hat on.
Yeah. Oh my God, that'd
And
be
the t-shirt,
insane.
the ho ho ho.
Yeah.
That's a
That'd
great
be
idea.
good.
Yeah, is Mortal Kombat 1? This is tough, right? Because the game's not been out that long, and maybe you're not like me, but I always need a bit of time before I say things like this. But it's your question. Is Mortal Kombat 1 your favourite fighter of all time?
No, but like if you were to pick my favorite fighter of all time and put it next to this, Mortal Kombat 1 is infinitely better. But for the time that the games were played, like back in, so I'm a bit of a weird one with my favorite fighter. Like I should say Super Street Fighter 2 because that at the time on the Mega Drive, but I really love a game called Eternal Champions.
Okay.
I have heard of that game.
Just because of when I played it, I was obsessed with it, and it was not like looking back now. The characters are so stupid, but that's.
I thought you were going to say something like Clay Fighter or.
I was waiting for
No.
Clay Fighter.
No, there's that Jurassic Park one where you were different dinosaurs. That looked dreadful.
Yeah.
But no,
There's been a lot of weird fighting games
yeah.
over the
But I would
years.
say Super Street Fighter 2 is my favorite fighter bar Eternal Champions. If no one's ever heard of that.
Okay. I'm going to add something to this question because I want to know the answer as well. But the question is, will you be playing Assassin's Creed Mirage? And my addendum is, and are you excited to? What are your thoughts about that?
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, I will be playing it. But I am massively excited for it because I think Valhalla I put in 80 hours, and since it released though, that's dipping in and out over the course of 2 years. So, and I don't do that with games. I don't. If I get like if I haven't played a game for a while, I'm like, well, I'm not going to go back.
Yeah.
But there was something about Valhalla that kept drawing me in, and like it felt like I'm not saying it is The Witcher, but it felt like The Witcher in the way it did it felt free. You weren't like tied to going from quest to quest. It was very open. And obviously Vikings are always fascinating, and that world is fascinating. And the history as well, they incorporated a lot of Viking history, which is really interesting. And a lot of it's not out there. It's not fact because they didn't write anything down. So a lot of it is done through like what the Saxons had at the time and through their records. So you're kind of just, so it allowed them to be a bit more creative, a bit more free. It incorporated some of the Norse mythology. But anyway, we're not talking about Valhalla. Mirage, I'm looking forward to play it because it looks like it's stripped back a lot. And I kind of want that. I want it to be back to when you were Altair in like the very first, where you had stuff to do, but it was a bit more streamlined. I'm looking forward to have one city. So the city is Baghdad, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know a lot about this game. It's one of the very few big games that I'm like, until I play it, I don't know what to expect from it.
Well, if I'm being completely honest, I've tried not to look at it too much.
Kind
I
of
want
the
to kind
same,
of
yeah.
just play this. But yes, 100% looking forward to it. I love Assassin's
Because
Creed.
I would
what it
love-
looks like. I'm looking forward to that stripped back approach where you're not kind of overwhelmed by all these collectibles and everything.
I'd
and you
love
can-
that. I'd love an Assassin's Creed to make me feel the way like 2 did, and 4. Black Flag as well was terrific.
Black Flag masterpiece.
But after they went to, I know never get them around the right way, but Odyssey and all those ones after they went like properly
Origins and Origins, yeah.
I would not play them and go, these are bad. They're good games, but they're just like they are those games where when I start them a few hours in, I'm like, there's just no way. And it makes me sad because I'm enjoying it, but it's just like there's just no way. And it'd be really nice to finish an Assassin's Creed game again because I loved that series. I was even one of those that was like, I kind of am invested in the real world shit. I know I shouldn't be. I know it's crap, and I know it's like they had the weird Danny Wallace and and all that stuff, and they all looked a bit Uncanny Valley, and I know it was weird, and I know it was bad, but like I was kind of weirdly invested in it, and I kind of love to feel that way again.
Yes, no, definitely.
Because Assassin's Creed has become almost analogous to like Call of Duty in terms of it's just always there, isn't it? Every year it's there. So, but yeah, back to you anyway, because Lyle's question.
Yeah, no worries. So Lyle, how's your Baldur's Gate playthrough going?
It's going good. I'm not that far really in the grand scheme of things because it's a fucking massive game, but I really, really, really like that game. I think I think everything about all the different characters is amazing. I think pretty much every character I've met, I've loved in some way. I think the combat is sublime. I love how as someone who hasn't played D&D before but knows sort of a decent amount from listening to actual play podcasts and stuff like that, I love how that's all incorporated, and I'm it's a game where every time I manage to find time to play it, because it's sort of squeezing it among other things, I think holy shit, I need to make more time for this. And I mean, I still haven't yet. I'm in Act 1. I think I've mentioned on the Discord recently I'm still in Act 1, and realistically that could mean anything from 2 hours in to 40 hours in or whatever. But I am in Act 1, and
you are playing it.
I am playing it. And I'm really enjoying it. I think it's a game that, as long as I keep playing it, will be one that is talked about a decent amount at the end of the year. And I hope that Adam and Chris Hyde have a better time playing it if they find more time to do so for that reason.
I noted that you didn't say which year. You just said at the end of the year when you finished it and played it. So it could be 2027. Okay. So.
It could. Maybe it will be, but it would be weird.
I think it's a tragedy that we're not. I know we're a small site, aren't we? We don't have a lot of time to play all these games, but I think it'd be an absolute tragedy if we don't all have a good amount of time with this game, because everybody raves about it. The reviews across the board have been so good, and I feel it'd just be a shame not to have a proper discussion about it. But I don't know how that's going to be possible.
Well, the trouble is, doing what we do, you're playing games in advance. Right, so the release date let's say for a game is a week or 2 weeks or more if you're lucky before the real release date. So when a game like Baldur's Gate 3 comes along that is massive and they give you code not ahead of time, it created an artificial barrier, because it's I'm still in that world where we are I'm not trying to be bragging. That is how it works. Obviously, to play a game for review, you have to play the game. So it was kind of just dropped into an ocean. Honestly think if it had been sooner, it wouldn't have been an issue.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I agree. So Lyle, next question.
Yeah, for the non-video people, Lyle's just had to leave the room. So have you?
I've got a question.
Yeah, go on.
I've got a quick question. I'm going to ask him the next one. How do I say this? Because I've never known.
Well, it's Disgaea.
Disgaea.
Yeah, Disgaea 7. Yeah.
Right, because I've never known how to live and say it.
My question to you is: have you played any more Baldur's Game of the Year 3? Because you're a big D&D fan.
I am a big D&D fan, and no, I think the tricky thing for me is it's on PC. So to put hundreds of hours in on and then, I know this is a really pathetic thing, but I just want to sit on a sofa and play a game for tens of hours. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I didn't
get this big sitting upright on a.
Yes, exactly. Something like this. I want to just chill out, get comfy, put some time in, but I don't know how that's going to happen. It might do, but I mean, it looks absolutely amazing, and I have put in about 7 or 8 hours, and I love what they've done with it. It is D&D to a fault. Everything about it is spot on, and there's so much kind of risk and reward. You're not guaranteed a victory in battle just because your stats are better. There's a lot of dice rolls, and at the end of the day, that's why people love Dungeons and Dragons, because you're never guaranteed success. It's all about the tactics you employ, or that kind of thing, and like that falls through to like the conversation you're having. It how you interact with people. It all depends on dice rolls, and it is amazing. But we'll see.
Why don't you ask me Lyle's questions? Let's see how we get on with that.
Go on, then.
He's just
he's back.
But go on, because
I've already forgot how you pronounce it. So
Disgaea.
Thank you.
So the next question then, as he plops his headphones in, this is going to be really weird for those. He can hear. He's giving us a thumbs up. Go on. So you can. Do you know what? Before we continue, because I'm not going to cut this all out, Chris. What a guy! You didn't know how long he was going to be gone, and you actually somehow filled the perfect amount.
Wow.
So I don't know.
What a fucking professional.
What are the lottery numbers this week, Chris? Please, because what are the lottery numbers?
So, your next question, Lyle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you try the Disgaea 7 demo?
No, I didn't. So sorry about that. I assume because he thinks I'll probably be reviewing Disgaea 7 that he's trying to get me to talk about it. But I don't know how far the demo goes. So I can't risk any of that shit, really, right? Like, that's not worth it.
Veto that question.
Yeah. But, I'll talk about that game at some point in the future, probably.
Yeah. What are you currently playing for non-work reasons on Steam Deck and Switch?
I think this is a trap. I think this is a trap based on the next question. But
okay,
please continue.
It's pretty much only Vampire Survivors on Switch. I think the only non-review game I'm playing on either of those consoles right now, is I do go back to Vampire Survivors pretty regularly, just sort of between games if I've got a free half hour or so. Recently bought the 2 DLCs for the Switch version because I hadn't played any of them, and then once I'd bought the DLCs realized there was still so much to do in the base game, so I still haven't really done anything with them, but they're there, and it's a game that I'll probably play sort of forever. It's kind of this nice balance between just mindless almost when you get to some points, but also kind of twitchy at some points, and it's an easy one to be my kind of zone out game almost.
I forget if I told you or just mentioned it on the Discord, but it blew my mind when we went to London to play Dragon's Dogma 2, and Sean, who was driving us, as a Tesla, and
I think you did say
you can play Vampire Survivors on it and Cuphead, but it just was like, has technology gone too far? Do you know what I mean?
No,
no, not far enough. Some would say, but it blew my mind.
Final question then. Final Fantasy 16 when?
I mean, before the end of the year, hopefully. Is this the same as the year that I'm finishing Baldur's Gate 3?
I know. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
But they're kind of my 2 big games that are currently out that I want to do as good a job of seeing them through as possible that I haven't played yet. They're the 2 where I think if I'm kind of just saying for certain games, for example, I'll say a Lies of P or a Mortal Kombat one where they're not really my genres. So I'm there's not that high a chance that I'll fall in love with them. And when I have as limited time as there is, the ones I think I have a decent chance of being these could be in my personal top 10. These could be ones I really want to fight for in the podcasts. They're the 2 that are on my list. And it's a bit unfortunate that they're both incredibly long fucking games, isn't it?
I completely forgot it came out. Honestly, this game of the year, first time since I've done it, I feel we're going to have such different lists. I think some will be towards the top, but I don't think anyone's going to have the same number 1.
I can see that,
and I'm looking forward to it. It'll be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the trouble is with that is every time anyone mentions this, they sort of say similar things, and that just makes me sort of go, I've got to edit all that. Every time, I respect and love that people are excited for it, but I just keep going oh Christ, though, yeah, I know it's gonna be really good, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's gonna be really good, smiling yeah. I think is that
that's the end of listener. I've got one more question, just unrelated to games, but I'm just curious to know if anyone's heard the new Blink-182 song.
Yes.
And thoughts?
I like it a lot. It's really good. It reminds me of I Miss You.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're both really good. All three of the songs they've released are really good.
It made me happy.
It's really weird. I like the fact that I'm going to mess this up. New old Blink 182 sounds like old Blink 182.
Yeah.
Rather than sounds like the old new. Fuck it, no, it's gone.
I know what you're saying. This
But
Blink 182 reminds you of the Cheshire Cat, Buddha, Enema of the State phase.
Yeah, like
rather than the neighbourhoods just before Tom left phase.
Exactly that. It's melodic and tuneful, but still there's something there, like a bit of yeah.
That was all.
Should have just let you describe it.
I fucking hate Blink 182.
Oh,
sorry.
What?
It's fair enough. You're allowed.
No, he's not.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I guess I'll stop.
Someone's got to say play the jingle for me to play it. It's the rules.
Can I say it?
I think you should. I mean, I really think you should.
Adam, play the jingle.
Chris Hyde. Listen to correspondence. It's time. It's time. Chris Hyde.
And that is the end of episode 533. If you did enjoy this, you can follow us on YouTube. But basically, the easiest thing to do is to just put God is a Geek into your search engine and then add whatever you want to follow us on, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. That's probably or Spotify. You can find us on Spotify if you don't, because I'm not someone who watches visual podcasts. I like to listen on headphones, and if you're one of those people, then go to whatever podcasts app as well. You'll find us on as well. So that's easy. Thank you to Chris White and Lyle Carr for being here, and do come back. Well, I was going to say come back next week. No, normally we do this on like a Thursday live on the down low, and then it goes away for anyone who's not a Patreon, patreon.com/GodIsAGeek, and then comes back live on a Monday. But this is Monday because of scheduling and my arse, as we mentioned before. And so what that actually means is that you're getting a double dose in theory, as long as nothing goes wrong and my arse holds up, which is a key thing. We will be doing another podcast. I think we're doing Friday this week. So there's a bit of a gap and a chance to actually play some stuff to talk about. So we'll be back Friday live, but again, it will go vanishes into the ether. It doesn't. It just goes unlisted for a bit and then comes back on the Monday when it goes live. So that'll be next week's podcast. But you can catch it early on YouTube and Twitch. Otherwise, go to patreon.com/GodIsAGeek. That's 3 times now I've mentioned that. Go do that. For £1 or $1, you can get that podcast early every week apart from this week. So it's probably a bad week to do it, actually advertising that. Didn't now think about it, but I've done it, and that's that. So thank you very much for listening or watching, or maybe there's a transcription somewhere. I doubt it, but that would be weird. Don't do that. And we'll speak to you next week, or this week, I guess, or whenever you choose to listen. Bye-bye for now.